All right, we have made it to the final song of the Ocean Saga, Ruthlessness. Time for me to find out if that voice is actually Poseidon, like I figured. I had noted in the previous video that if this is Poseidon, it's a pretty smart thing to do in the context of the drama. Bring in your primary sort of divine antagonist, bring him in early because you have to meet with him later. It also fits because we are technically headed to, as Aeolus calls it, the land of the giants. This, I'm assuming, is meant to be the Laestrygonians. They are a race of cannibal giants, and I called them children of Poseidon. Sometimes they're his children, sometimes they're like his grandchildren. They're related to Poseidon, so it's like it makes even more sense in the mythology to bring him in if this is him, but really I just want to hear more of this voice. So let's cut the chit chat and let's just get in to Ruthlessness. Again, interesting we hear the piano come in when Athena has supposedly ditched him. Shut the front door.
Poseidon.
We brought in Poseidon. Poseidon's on that voice. Now, these divine choirs, as I've been calling them, seem to have predominantly been non-diegetic, but Aeolus did say we were heading to the land of the giants. It would be weird to head to the land of the giants and not actually have the giants. This also fits in with how exactly the encounter with the giants, the Laestrygonians, actually goes in the Odyssey, which I will explain more of later, probably near the end of the song. So what I'm going to make the assumption of is that this divine choir is not so much the usual divine choir, but the actual Laestrygonians, which would mean this particular incident would be taking place in a kind of harbor/cove, because when Odysseus and his men get to the island of the Laestrygonians, they sort of like park their boats, if you will, in a specific spot and go onto the island, and that is where they then have the encounter, which ends badly for a lot of them.
A lot of them, oh my god.
But the Laestrygonians don't just live out in the middle of the ocean, so we have to be near some sort of landmass. I'm assuming we're at some sort of harbor/cove where these ships are predominantly kind of quasi-surrounded on most sides. This will make sense if we follow the encounter to a degree, the way that we're meant to. I mean, we kind of have to. I'll explain when we get there, but holy shit, Poseidon is here. I complained a lot about how Athena was used in my goodbye. I need Poseidon to read Odysseus for filth. I need some rage. Poseidon is the kind of god who should give me that.
In all my years of living, it isn't very often that I get pissed off. I tried to chip
That's
the
not
waves,
true,
but damn you just the lie.
Like I said, he's very temperamental.
I've been so gracious, and yet you hurt the son of mine. That's right, the Cyclops you made blind is mine. No.
No. I mean, first off, I laughed. It isn't very often that I get pissed off. That's not true. Poseidon, as I said, is very temperamental. He's very unpredictable. He's in many ways a kind of representation of the ocean, as he is god of the seas and lord of the seas. He's not the chillest of dudes. I've been so gracious, and yet you hurt the son of mine. This is true. It is important to remember that Poseidon was on the side of the Greeks during the Trojan War, even though he was one of the two gods who assisted in building the walls of Troy, the other god being Apollo, and that is why Apollo sided with the Trojans. By that measure, you would think Poseidon would side with the Trojans. He assisted in the building of the walls of Troy. Really, the walls of Troy are like their own character. But he sided with the Greeks. In addition, part of the whole idea of the wooden horse of Troy was they were making it look like it was a sacrifice to Poseidon. So he inadvertently became complicit in an element of the deceit of the Trojans, which again isn't super always viewed like as the most honorable thing. It's infamous. It's not like it's a famous thing, it's an infamous thing. So in giving basically most of the Greek heroes good wins to go home, and in not taking any sort of vengeance for them sort of using him in the way they did with the wooden horse and many other things, he has been gracious. He's not wrong. he's absolutely right. Like, he would have many a reason to come after the Greeks for what they did, but he sided with them at Troy, and he didn't take any sort of revenge for them using him as part of the building of the wooden horse. Now you've hurt this son of mine. That's right, that Cyclops you made blind is mine. We've now done the reveal to Odysseus and his men. I had said it's really important in the Odyssey that they all know he's a son of Poseidon, and it's made very clear to them while they're on the island and when they leave. So they know Poseidon is pissed at them. And again, Poseidon does not appear directly in the narrative at this point. So this definitely held back that information so you could bring in Poseidon very dramatically to confront Odysseus. Well played. Well played.
I'm left without a choice and without a doubt. Yes, the back of wolves is swimming with the shark now.
Nope. Gotta put. Oh my god, this is killing me because like I want to keep listening to the song. This music is great. This is like. This reminds me of like the good Disney Renaissance era of good Disney villain songs, you know? Even though I don't think Poseidon's a villain at all. I'm agreeing with him. That line. I guess the pack of wolves is swimming with the sharks now. Jorge, are you making an Autolycus reference? Hi, editing Matt here. Excuse the shitty lighting, it's nighttime. So I'm about to wildly mispronounce the name of Odysseus's grandfather, and as much as I say there's like no real way to know how we would pronounce ancient Greek, I flip two of the vowels. So I'm going to be calling him Autolycus. His name is Autolycus. So the E and the O I kind of switched, and I don't even know what to blame other than my brain just remembering it wrong. It is Autolycus, and I'm going to mistakenly be calling him Autolycus for the whole of this, so just keep that in mind. I apologize.
Brain ran too fast and I got the name wrong.
You have to be making an Autolycus reference, or an Autolycus reference. Autolycus is the grandfather of Odysseus, the man who gave Odysseus his name, and is a son of Hermes. So let's talk a little bit about Odysseus' family. Autolycus, in a lot of the pre-Roman sources, will tell you that Autolycus is a son of Hermes. Who his mother is kind of depends whether, like, the big three would be Homer, Hesiod, and Apollodorus. Like, between those three, kind of changes who the mom is, but it's basically always Hermes is the dad. And he is Odysseus' maternal grandfather. He is the one who names Odysseus. And Autolycus was an incredibly successful thief. Because he was a son of Hermes, sometimes it's even said that he had this power to, like, either change the appearance of or make invisible things that he stole. It was why he was so successful. And he's also linked with a famous mountain known as Mount Parnassus. This is a mountain you will hear referenced in a lot of the mythology, like across the board from the birth of the Olympians all the way through to now. Parnassus is a place that gets mentioned a lot.
Not super important to this.
However, the reason I freaked out about them calling them a pack of wolves is because Autolycus's name means the wolf itself. He was known as the wolf. So calling Odysseus and his men a pack of wolves, Jorge, you are totally referencing Autolycus, aren't you? You have to be referencing Autolycus. If you're not, okay, maybe he just chose it for pack of wolves, land creatures, and swimming with sharks. I think this is a reference to Autolycus. Again, you don't have a grandfather named the wolf itself, and like, come on. Ugh.
I'm left without a choice and without a doubt. Yes, the pack of wolves is swimming with the shark now. I gotta make you bleed. I need to see you drown. But before you go, I need to make you learn how ruthlessness is mercy upon ourselves.
Yeah, just by the sound of that backing choir, I want to imagine these are the Laestrygonians, and they're like surrounding as like fabulous backup singers. Ruthlessness is mercy upon ourselves. While again, I fundamentally disagree with the idea that we're supposed to view what Odysseus did to Polyphemus as mercy, you can argue that what Poseidon is presenting here is very in line with how the ancient Greeks would have thought. It's way more in line with the Hellenic ideal that this is an element of mercy upon yourself in killing an enemy. In a way, this perfectly describes what Odysseus had to do to Astyanax at the start of this musical. Most of the time, it was less about mercy and more about honor when it came to defeating and killing an opponent and not leaving them permanently disabled, which Poseidon has every right to be super fucking pissed at. It's an absolute slap in the face to his son, and with a blood feud, which has now basically been created because of Odysseus's dumbass actions. Yeah, Poseidon's mad. And as I've often said, when you piss off a god, it's a one-way ticket to like a really creative punishment and or death with a really creative punishment afterwards. In this case, Poseidon is absolutely toying with Odysseus. Poseidon is functioning in many ways like, you really are so full of shit, I'm gonna break you down from the inside. You need to realize who you are. That's the vibe I'm getting, because he's so angry. And the fact that Odysseus tried to be so self-righteous about it, he's just like, nah, you're full of shit. So I'm gonna play with you. I'm gonna scare the shit out of you. Right now, again, I will always emphasize that I love Odysseus. I do. He's one of my favorite of the Greek heroes. I am so down for Poseidon, just like reading him the godly riot act. And I am kind of on Team Poseidon right now, because I was basically on Team Polyphemus. With how we recontextualized that encounter in the Cyclops saga, I was like, bro, Odysseus, there's no excuse. So I'm kind of like, get him, Poseidon. Just get him. Like, oh yeah, read him for filth. Absolutely, just get him. This is the last song, so I'm assuming we're gonna, like, again, sort of speed run. I mean, the Lycaonians are a really, really quick encounter, so there's not much to really speed run. Just gonna, I'm having too much fun. I'm having too much fun. And this is such a, like, musically, this is such a great song. Like, this is my vibe in a song. Everything about this. Like, this is going instantly in my gym playlist. This would go in my skating playlist. I want this song injected straight into my veins. I don't care if you even use an IV. Just, everything about this song is yes.
Ruthlessness is mercy.
Rasp. Sounds like he's been gargling salt water all his existence.
You are the worst kind of good, 'cause you're not even great.
Did I not say? Did I not say the whole thing with Athena and these heroes is it's always like baseline they're good. She wants to make them great. She wants them to be better than what they are. Again, setting potentially completely impossible standards for them. Hence, the humans are doomed to always fail. Most of the time, they're also just assholes, but doomed to fail. You are the worst kind of good because you're not even great. Sit down, son. Sit fucking down. Poking at his ego. This is all about Odysseus' ego, because it's his ego that gets him in trouble. Thank you, Poseidon, for coming in to give me what Athena should have been doing if she'd been there in that situation. And the Cyclops situation had gone down the way that it did. She'd read him the riot act. This is a problem with how much I'm loving Poseidon in this song.
A Greek who reeks of false righteousness, that's what I hate.
Poseidon, you and me, same page. A Greek who reeks of false righteousness, that's what I hate. Did I not rant and rave about how I figured this idea that Odysseus is trying to justify the entirety of the Polyphemus encounter to himself is a false sense of righteousness. It's fake. It's not real. He's lying to himself. I never thought a musical would make me go, well, fuck Odysseus, I'm Team Poseidon.
I'm Team Poseidon.
Poseidon, you and me, same page. And again, this singer sounds like he's been gargling salt water all his life. That rasp is such a great creative choice for Poseidon. And it adds an edge and just like a nastiness to the way that he sings, which he's already giving like 110% in the realm of aggression. This is raw aggression. I love that he's just like, you are so full of shit and I'm going to tease you and break it down for you while I let you know you're fucked. You are This makes me so happy. It's absurd. I should not be having this much fun, but I am. Every lyric, the voice, the music. Also, again, interesting, we have the piano in the back, because I heard it raised like, a Greek who reeks of false righteousness, that's what I hate. And then you can hear the piano in the back, which, again, we've sort of established the piano is Athena's instrument, which would fall in line with the Odyssey if this is meant to say that she's here and kind of keeping an eye on things. Again, the big thing in the Odyssey is she never abandons Odysseus. She's always aware of what's happening with him. And finally, after he's been on Calypso's island for like 7 years, she goes to Zeus and says, okay, look, Ithaca's like really starting to get in trouble. We have to get him home. But, you know, the musical made this whole show of she's like, well, now I'm leaving you. And again, I will not reiterate my thoughts on My Goodbye and how much I nearly had an aneurysm with that song, but just sort of an interesting musical choice. I also did hear some brass where it's like, dun, 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 which is the theme from Storm, re-emphasizing it's a divine storm. This storm was caused by Poseidon. And I'm assuming that would mean potentially that brass is the instrument we're meant to put with Poseidon. And that's why we've been featuring it so heavily in this saga. This is all about Poseidon's wrath. This saga is really just about, it opens with Poseidon's wrath, it's ending with Poseidon's wrath. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm getting.
'Cause you fight to save lives, but won't kill and don't get the job done. I mean, you totally could have avoided all this had you just killed my son. But no.
Oh my god. But no, the mocking, the condescension. Yeah, and Odysseus deserves it. He deserves to have his ego skewered. But I just also love the way he delivered that, right? And he's right. He goes, because you fight to save lives but won't kill and don't get the job done. Not entirely true. Odysseus has no problem killing. I think he's referencing clearly very specifically Polyphemus, because as he says, I mean, you totally could have avoided all this if you just killed my son. If you'd done the proper and honorable thing, if you'd actually been a hero, if you'd actually cared about consequences, and if you hadn't been so blinded by your ego, you would have done the right thing, which is kill Polyphemus. Then, one, nobody would know it was you, but two, you would have done the honorable thing. You would have given respect to Polyphemus, and ergo respect to Poseidon. Part of this, you can argue, is Poseidon's ego being bruised as well, but he legitimately has a right to have his ego bruised when I have spent all this time talking about blood feuds and how dangerous they are, and this was his son. Again, don't fuck around and find out.
You are far too nice.
He's not nice.
Has a price.
Okay.
It's the final crack. We're about to break the ice now. You reveal your name.
Yes.
Then you let him live. Unlike you, I've got no mercy left to give. 'Cause ruthlessness is mercy upon ourselves.
Full body chills.
Ruthlessness is mercy upon
High note.
ourselves.
Can that rasp in his voice, especially when he goes up high. So good. As much as, again, I will constantly say I disagree fundamentally with the idea that what was done to Poseidon is mercy, but I think Poseidon is 100% mocking Odysseus. I think he's like, mercy, okay, well then I have no mercy left to give. It's absolutely disrespect and not mercy, but I think he's fucking with Odysseus by using Odysseus's words. He's like, you want to call it mercy? Fine. Well, I've got none left to give. Okay? Remember the rules of the game here. You're not allowed to forget. You're not allowed to ignore the rules of the game. This song is so driving. Again, inject it into my veins. Straight into my veins. Also, it's the final crack. We're bound to break the ice now. Like an icebreaker. It's the first time Odysseus and Poseidon are meeting. This is their icebreaker, but it's the final crack. I'm cracking the veneer, the image you have of yourself. Which again, if this is supposed to be the Lystragonian encounter, yeah, that's an apt way to describe what should happen.
And now it is finally time to say goodbye. Today you die, unless of course you apologize
here's your
for my
test.
son's pain and all his cries.
He'll never say sorry.
Poseidon, we meant no harm. We only hurt him to disarm him. We took no pleasure in his pain.
Fuck
we
off.
only wanted to escape.
Bullshit. He's lying to a god. I don't even think at this point he's lying to himself, because I noted Odysseus doesn't go up into his head voice a lot. He's often belting out from his, from the chest. Whenever he goes up to his head voice, it's lighter, it feels faker. He did it with Eurylochus, he's doing it here. When he's doing that last bit of escape, it sounds like he switches into his head voice. He's full of shit. Also, last I checked, none of those words were, I apologize. I'm sorry. Odysseus cannot take responsibility for his actions. He's constantly deflecting. He puts it all on Polyphemus, which is what he does in the Odyssey. Now, again, to be fair, the way it goes down in the musical is not how it goes down in the Odyssey, but also, again, in the Odyssey, we're getting it directly from the mouth of Odysseus. Here we have, directly from the mouth of Odysseus, kind of how he justifies it in the Odyssey, except you're doing it to a god. Again, Odysseus would never be fucking stupid enough to do this to a god.
Let alone fucking Poseidon.
When he tells the story, he's telling it to other humans. He can kind of lie all he wants. There's no real consequences for it because they don't know, and they're also not divine characters. This continues in the reckless, egomaniacal idiocy of Odysseus. The dumbest fucking smart boy alive. Because what he's doing even now, it's like a fake prostration. It's false sympathy. It's a lie. He's not sorry. If he were sorry, he wouldn't have ever done it. He's not sorry in the slightest. Hence, he doesn't actually say, I'm sorry. If I'm Poseidon, I'm like, bitch, 2 words.
I'm sorry.
But Odysseus can't say, I'm sorry. He can't. He can't take responsibility for anything that involves genuine self-reflection. So Poseidon is showing up like a big, nasty, angry mirror to say, you're really gonna have to look at yourself. You have to. It's the only way, is you're gonna have to take a real good look in the mirror. Now, I will attempt to kill you before that happens, but he's kind of giving him at least the moment of the song. Self-reflect. And in that moment, whether or not he truly means it, of, unless you apologize, you're dead. Poseidon has spent this whole song giving Odysseus a mirror to look at. And he's like, have you listened to a word I said? No, Odysseus hasn't. And he pulls this shit. And thus we will likely get the ending of what happens with the Lacedaemonians, which, spoilers, ends in every ship except Odysseus's going down with all hands. On the island of the Lacedaemonians, they get there and they're wandering around, kind of trying to figure out what's up with this island. They, again, park their ships in almost like a harbor, if you will, except for Odysseus's ship is like on the very edge of them. He's at the back of the line, if you will. He has the easiest escape route. They get onto the island, they start exploring, they run into the wife of the chief of the Lacedaemonians. Again, they are a race of cannibal giants, and the wife just like runs off, finds her husband, he comes, and they're just like, oh shit, we're out of here. And they try and get out. What happens though is that the Lacedaemonians, again, as giants, this is a repeat in a way from what happens with Polyphemus. Polyphemus throws like, chucks boulders at them as they're leaving. The Lacedaemonians start doing that. They destroy every ship because they got stuck in the harbor. As I'm calling it, this harbor, kind of just like a parking garage on the sea, whatever you want to call it. They can't maneuver out. Again, these are very long ships. They don't turn really easily. So they can't get out, and they're all killed by the Lacedaemonians just like chucking rocks at them. Odysseus and his ship are the only ones left at the end of this encounter. And I have a feeling Poseidon's just gonna look at his children, grandchildren, and just be like, nuke them. And I don't blame him. It's tough to blame the gods for a lot of things, because that would be me imposing a human sense of morality onto them. Again, they're not human. Never have been. The Olympians especially not. But culturally, Poseidon is technically in the right to do whatever the fuck he wants. But if we impose human morality onto him, he's still in the right. He's still completely in the right. But yeah, no, I'm with Poseidon on this one. If I'm Poseidon, I'm about to call Odysseus out for that half-ass bullshit he just spewed. That wasn't an apology.
The line between naivety and hopefulness is almost invisible.
I guess that's supposed to be apologies.
The world is dark and ruthlessness is die.
Wow, what a section. You have the Lacedaemonian choir going, ruthlessness is mercy upon like ourselves. You have the different crews screaming, captain. They're barreling atop each other. This has got to be the Lacedaemonians just like chucking rocks, destroying every ship except Odysseus's. And there's nothing Odysseus can do. And it's even worse for him as a blow to the ego, because it's a god and there's nothing in here. There's really nothing that he can do. And in a way, Poseidon is continuing what Polyphemus said, which was that, you will be the final man to die. I will eat you last. I will make you watch me kill all of your men, and then I'll get to you. Poseidon, the god that you are.
I need to calm down. I'm an adult.
I need to listen to that section again. Again, inject it straight into my veins.
Ruthlessness is die.
And again, the brass. Brass has got to be Poseidon's instrument family.
What have you done?
Oh, you don't like consequences? Nice callback.
43 left under your command.
43. So we had 600 in 12 ships. We ditched 11 ships, which would be 550 are gone. We lost 6 in the Polyphemus cave, which would be... Well, we have to count Odysseus as one of the people on that ship, so there'd be 49 minus 6 is 43. Yeah, okay, the numbers check out. Still can't believe the 600, but... And again, nice callback, the... When does a ripple become a tidal wave? Coming in from... I believe that was in Just a Man, might have been Horse and the Infant. It's from one of the first 2 songs of the Troy Saga. I believe it's Just a Man. We took a snippet of that, very specifically ocean-related, tying with Poseidon.
Does a man become a monster?
We bring in the when does a man become a monster? The big thesis statement of Odysseus' character in this. Again, I make the argument his most monstrous moment is in the Polyphemus cave, but he doesn't recognize that. I almost wonder if the musical doesn't recognize that, which, again, fundamental problem I'm gonna have with it. No, fundamental disagreement I'm gonna have with it. But bringing it back up to say, reminder. It's Poseidon reminding him that you need to recognize the monstrous within yourself. Because if you keep acting like it's not there, you're gonna you will, 1, actually be a monster, at which point you're not a hero. But 2, it's a denial of the human experience. It's a lie to yourself. And the whole point of this song has been basically slapping Odysseus in the face to be like, you are fucking lying to yourself. Wake up. You fucked around. This is you finding out. I kind of have no sympathy for Odysseus in this one. This is all his ego. Yeah, again, dumbass actions. Hello, consequences. The consequences were death of all of the comrades except the ones that are left on your ship. And you can't apologize. You can't self-reflect. It's your big tragic flaw.
And your darkest moment. The monster that always draws near. Any last words?
All I gotta do is open this bag.
Huh? Look at that in brass. Okay. We have to explain how he gets away.
Remember me.
Oh yeah, you better. Super interesting way to end that because Poseidon does not appear at this point in the narrative. He pops up a little more directly later in the narrative. So for dramatic effect, by 1, hiding the fact that Polyphemus was Poseidon's son, you get to bring him in here very dramatically to be a part of the Laestrygonian encounter, but you're also, with that last line, remember me, setting up you will have to meet him again. The use of the windbag... You need to find a way to get Odysseus out of this situation because you've introduced a divine character and you can't just have them sail away. It doesn't work like that when you've got a divine character, so sure, he's got the windbag. I did like that the theme, the da 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 da, is all done in brass in that bit, which again, I'm associating with Poseidon. Holy shit, this song. I'm a little like, my brain feels non-functioning because I'm just sort of in awe at how much I love this song. I love everything about the tone of this song, the raw aggression of it, the way that Poseidon is reading Odysseus, the Greek mythological riot act, but also you can argue Poseidon is giving him a chance, which he normally wouldn't, but okay. He's air quotes giving him a chance. I think Poseidon knows very well that Odysseus is going to fail the test that he gives him of, unless of course you apologize for my son's pains and all his cries. Like, I'll let you live if you say you're sorry, but he knows Odysseus won't. And Odysseus does, in that way, exactly what he figured he would. He doesn't apologize, and he dooms everyone else because you decided to basically start a blood feud with an Olympian.
Dumbass motherfucker.
So in terms of the Ocean Saga, it is pretty much as I saw. It is like, if the Cyclops Saga is look at Odysseus's dumbass actions, this is the saga of, okay, here are your really intense consequences. While I didn't love everything that was done with Aeolus from a tone perspective and the weird little Lotus Eater-esque minion voices for whatever those were supposed to be, this song is the best song in the whole fucking musical thus far. In my personal opinion, I love everything about it. I love it musically. I love it lyrically. The voice choice for Poseidon is a fucking inspired choice. It's insane. Again, I kept saying, I'm like, it sounds like he's been gargling salt water all his life. He sounds like he's the Lord of the Sea. Like, he doesn't come up to air all that often. And that unpredictability, that rage that just emanates through the whole thing feels very Poseidon. There's lots of really cool little things that are sprinkled in the lyrics, which are nods, I would think, to mythology. And tying it in with the Lacedaemonian encounter so that we don't sort of just have a repeat of they go to an island and giants get mad at them. We bring in Poseidon backed by the Lacedaemonians because these are also his bloodline. That's really clever. I will give that's extremely clever. It's extremely smart. And also, again, it's a good way to bring in a god who doesn't appear physically in the narrative here, but who is causing a lot of strife to Odysseus and his men because of what Odysseus did. Again, reminder, all your fault, Odysseus. But bringing him in as the big, dramatic, divine antagonist, because you're also setting up that he's going to pop up again later. I'm curious as to how Jorge is going to do that, as that would be part of that, what I'm calling like the in-between travels between Calypso and Ithaca. Small little bit of travels. Poseidon plays a little more direct role in that. Curious how he's going to do that, since again, we're skipping the Isle of the Phaeacians. I would assume there's no point to that encounter since we've made the narrative linear. That'll all come down to like just pacing and everything else. So we're nowhere near that yet. We finished the Lacedaemonians. We are then going to go meet Circe, who's again another one of those big well-known stops, is the stuff that happens with Circe and how that will then lead to the underworld. I love everything about that song. Oh my god. Like, I can't even really think of the other songs in the saga. That one just is so dominant in my head right now. Oh my god.
Inject it straight into my veins.